Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the webinar hosted by Real Closers, and we thank you guys for promoting this and putting this on with us. My name is Nathan Thornberry. I'm with Residential Warranty Services. I'm going to start off with just a brief introduction about myself, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about you guys. So I've been in the business for a little while. I'm the CEO of Residential Warranty Services Incorporated. We're based in Carmel, Indiana. Founded in 1988. I'm the founder of Home Inspection University. It's an online school primarily focused on the home inspection industry. Author of 4 books, nationally known speaker, and a certified trainer in a number of different facets in real estate. Founder of Inspector Services Group. If you've ever seen a recall check report, that comes from us. And those service plans that you get from your home inspector, including 90-day warranties, sewer guard, etc. We also have a lab down in Florida. We've been in the business since 1988. I personally have been in the business as an adult or something close to it, 20 plus years, handled over 250,000 claims between me and my staff here of just around 180 people. We have been involved in millions of transactions. That's not a joke and it's not an exaggeration. And some of that has been through the home inspection industry, some through the home warranty side of things. And we are a proud member of Real Closers and the official home warranty provider for the group. Now, one thing I want to bring up about you guys that are here tonight, and this was something that was pointed out to me today when I was preparing this presentation. This is not an approved CE course. You're not getting continuing education for being here tonight. You are real estate agents looking for knowledge that will help your client in a big way, and you don't get paid for getting that knowledge other than in future referrals and such. And that really says something. So I want to thank you on behalf of your clients for being here, because honestly, most agents don't take the time to learn it. They don't have the knowledge to begin with. There's a lot of agents out there that haven't been to a home inspection before or haven't really been involved in a home warranty claim or a process and don't have the knowledge level that you guys are going to have after tonight. So again, I really appreciate that. And everything that we go over tonight, absolutely everything, will be put on as far as resources go, website links, things that you can use in your business are going to be at nathan.tv/resources. And I will put that up on the screen, and I may even send you all a message about it later. So when you see these web resources for agents, we're going to add to this throughout our time together here, which will be a short 45 minutes or so. And we're going to start with one that I had just shown you the logo to, the CPE certification, the Client Protection Expert. So if you go to cpecertification.com, and don't do it now, again, we'll give you the link for later, you can go there and learn a lot about, and maybe even just test your knowledge about, the home inspection process, which we're just going to touch on tonight. But going there takes about 25, 30 minutes. You get this cool logo for promoting your home or your real estate business. And, you learn something in the process. Again, don't worry about writing this down. We'll create a full list before the end of the webinar and send it out to all of you. But I will give you a taste of the CPE certification, which we're real proud of. We've had thousands of agents go through it, and I've had hundreds of personal emails from them saying, this was great, learned a lot, backed up some of the stuff I knew, and gave me a little bit of new information. Let me give you just one of the questions. This is question number 6 from the Client Protection Expert course. The question is, can a home inspector determine if there is hail damage, like an act of God, and if hail damage is missed? So there is hail damage there. It's on the roof shingles, it's on the siding, in the gutters, or on the downspouts. Is the inspector responsible to your client for that issue? So if he misses it, should he pay? And if he doesn't miss it, or if he's just looking for it, is he responsible to find it in the first place? So there's your A, B, and C. Always and yes, usually yes, and if obvious and no. Which one is it? Well, I'll let you find out by going to cpecertification.com. You'll find the answer there. And a lot of what we deal with tonight is going to be focused on a room that I show at almost every event that I speak at. And I show this little picture of this room right here. And I ask everybody, what what is this room? And almost everyone gets that it's a courtroom. And I explain over there on the right side, the gray-haired gentleman, that's the plaintiff over there, and over there on the left side, the guy in the suit, that's the defendant. And of course, at the front, just stage right of the judge, is the bailiff, and that's approximately the average physical condition of the average bailiff in America. His job is basically to move paper from one side to the other. And when I look at this room, and when you talk to real estate agents, you ask them, is the business we're in a high liability industry? And most will say yes. Almost every one of them will say yes. But then when you ask them how many of them have actually been to this room because of their negligence as a real estate agent, the number is dramatically low. It's like zero almost every time. But we're still worried about that liability. But we don't need to be worried about it too much from the standpoint of, this courtroom situation, because most of us carry E&O. What we need to worry about primarily is the loss of referrals. We need to worry about, client satisfaction. Everything is about our reputation and our referral base. Again, there are occasionally the lawsuit, but usually it's an E&O claim, and that comes with a deductible. And of course, that deductible can go away. So I'm going to give you another web resource for agents and brokers. It's zerodeductibleforbrokers.com. You can go there again after the webinar, and there's just a couple of forms that if you have your clients sign off on, and you submit to our company, even if you're not a client, even if you didn't use one of the inspectors that we work with, if you didn't use our home warranty, you can use neither one. It costs you nothing. It costs your client nothing. And if for any reason you find yourself in a situation, a lawsuit, where you have to submit a claim to your E&O provider, you as the agent or you as the broker, so I have a bunch of brokers making this their office policy, will not be responsible for paying that deductible. Now, just as I'm suggesting that it's not very common for someone to get sued in the real estate business, I hold in my hand, and I will read you a couple of details of a lawsuit against a real estate agent that we work with, who is also working with an inspector that we work with. I have a lawsuit in my hand for $270,000 plus compensatory damages, and you won't believe what they said the real estate agent should have done, at least in the complaint. We'll see if they go anywhere. My thought is probably not, but I think you'll like it. We're going to talk about that when we talk about the home inspection side of things. Now, here's the reality of this room. The only reason, usually 90+% of the time, that anyone ends up in this room or ends up losing a referral source or ends up with an unhappy client or an E&O claim, 90+% of the time that they end up in this room, it's for one category of problem in real estate. And that's why you guys are here tonight and learning about this. And that's property condition issues. And it's something we're experts on here at Residential Warranty Services. And we work with a lot of experts in the industry, a lot of home inspectors, and I might even mention a few of them tonight. This is why your clients will have an issue, so you should know the most about it. But most real estate agents, if you were to ask them, should a home inspector be responsible, or is an inspector responsible under their standards of practice for identifying hail problems, hail damage on a house? And are they responsible for the cost if they don't find it? I would say that a lot of agents would say yes and yes. And by the way, that is not the correct answer. You'll have to take the CPE certification to find out why. So when we talk about property condition, we want to be well-versed in all aspects of that. And this, feel free to take a screenshot. You can take a shot with your cell phone. You can take a quick screenshot, or you can, maybe we'll just put the list on nathan.tv/resources later. This is all of your property condition components. This is all of the things that go into ultimately a problem that your client might have. It starts with the seller's disclosure. Now, if you're on the listing side, you have a great deal more input into that than you do if you're on the buyer side. And we're going to talk about each of these things a little bit. But we're going to focus on these ones that I have highlighted here. We're going to start with an inspection to back up that seller's disclosure, what we'll call a pre-listing inspection. Although you might already have a listing contract signed by the time you do it. I get it. It's clumsy wording. We're going to talk about the inspection itself, how to make sure your clients get the right inspection, how to make sure they get the right inspector, and the warranties that come with inspection, the mechanical warranties, which many of you are using some sort of mechanical warranty today. We're going to dissect those a little bit. We're going to talk about structural warranties as well. And I do mean structural warranties, not just on new construction. I mean structural warranties on existing homes, and they do exist. So let's talk real quick about the seller's disclosure side. If you've ever seen the show House on, well, I guess it used to be on ABC or CBS or something. Anyway, it's on like Hulu or Netflix now. House, it said that every one of his patients was a liar. And, basically the show started with some sort of an injury or some sort of a weird medical condition. They end up at Princeton and he doesn't talk to them because they're liars. And by the end of it, he comes up with some sort of brilliant diagnosis and treatment regimen. And this is the same thing with sellers. They either don't know what's wrong with their house, or they're sometimes willing to lie about it. Now, they might call it a white lie. They could have known about something, but they chose to ignore it, that sort of thing. Basically, a seller's disclosure is virtually worthless, and that shows in the court decisions that we've seen when it comes to seller's disclosure law. Very weak, very hard to enforce. Now let's go to the next thing that is not highlighted, and that would be the showing side of things. Now, you guys as real estate agents, you know what you're looking at to some extent. You might not be home inspectors, might not be a qualified contractor and all of that stuff, and I wouldn't expect you to be, but you've seen enough houses to know when something's just a little off, and at that point, it's a really good idea for you to say something to your client about that being a problem, number one. And number two, to bring it up with your inspector partner to say, hey, I noticed this. I'd love it if you paid special attention and make sure that what I saw is a no big deal kind of thing. And now I'm going to go to that lawsuit that I mentioned earlier. This is count 3. I will remove the names to protect the innocent, because I think they're all innocent except for the plaintiff here. But here's the line. The defendant, we'll call her Kelly. And Kelly is the real estate agent, by the way. This was a lawsuit against the real estate agent by name personally, not against their broker, not against their E&O provider, against them, owed a duty of reasonable care to the plaintiffs, the buyers, as their real estate agent in this transaction. And she breached her duty of care when she failed to notice material defects that a real estate agent using reasonable care would notice. That's right, a $270,000 plus compensatory damage claim against a buyer's agent, because when they walked through the house, they had, in the plaintiff's attorney's opinion here, and we'll see what the judge thinks. Maybe we'll probably never get that far, honestly. I think we'll crush it. Part of what we help to do and consult with everyone on that zero deductible for brokers.com program. At the end of the day, was she responsible for this thing? And I'll give you a hint as to the defect. There is a beam in a crawl space that supports a floor system. And that beam has been repaired before. And there is a question as to whether that beam is fine or not. We have some contractors saying it's fine. We have other contractors saying it's not. They are suing for the cost of the house times 2. Yes, that's what they're doing. So on showings, if you see something obvious, there's no way that Kelly, the real estate agent example here, should have known anything about that. There was no real indication of it. That's what's being alleged and assumed, and it will not go through. But if you see something that's obvious, you really have a duty to bring it up, and you should. Don't worry about not selling the house that day. Let's just make sure that it's all out in the open. Let's go to the next thing that's not highlighted, the walkthrough. So this is after the inspection. It's right before closing. When you go on that walkthrough, use all your senses. Does anything smell? Does anything sound different? Does anything look different? Take a look in every room. I have a picture from a home inspector I didn't include in this presentation. I was going to, where there's actually a cutout of the carpeting right around the couch that was removed from the basement that was there when everybody did the showings and the inspection and everything else. So you want to make sure you see every room. You want to make sure you're listening for running water, you're smelling for gas, any of that stuff. And at the very end of this is something where you need to find a great property insurance partner, especially if you're in a place like Florida or somewhere where they have, national hazard disclosures like California. You need to get with an insurance agent to make sure that before you even get that client to closing, that they know that they have an insurable property, for one, and two, that they understand the different types of insurance that they can do. Not something we're going to talk about tonight. We could, but we could spend a whole hour on that. We want to keep things moving tonight. So let's go to this picture first, this next slide. This is a slide that was delivered to me by a guy named Dave Klima of Aardvark Inspectors. He's in South Bend, and he actually has a second version of this I'm going to show. And this is one of those things where we talk about pre-listing inspections. Are they a good idea? And for those of you who've been around the business for a while, there are certainly some problems with them. Number one, you kind of end up with a list of disclosable items. Well, guess what? You should be disclosing these items anyway. So really no downside there. I think the biggest downside is asking a client to, pay a fee to an inspector before they receive money. Usually we have them sign a listing agreement and they never write a check. They get a check at closing if they're, fortunate enough to be in an equity position. This is a good $300 to $500 spent on a home inspection when it can look something like this. And this is from Lockmondy Realty Group. They're up north here in Indiana, and when you list or buy with them, they actually provide that home inspection and an 18-month warranty. We'll talk about how you get that free along with 5 years of roof leak protection. So it's kind of using the pre-listing inspection to create a marketing angle for the house. It's working very well for Mike. Don't all of you call him, please, but it's working well for him. It's working well for the agents in his office, and it's something you should consider. Not something that's going to happen on every property, but if you have a house that's in pretty decent shape and you're in a market where you need to be competitive, this is a good idea. So let's put pre-listing inspections aside for the moment. Let's just talk about the inspection process. And we're not going to talk about it at great length. We have some resources we're going to share with you so you can do that on your own. But we will talk about the importance of an inspection and some of the tools that inspectors are using now. So this is a picture that was sent to me earlier today by Devin Morante of DBJ Inspections. It's down in Florida and near Port St. Lucie. And this is a picture of a brand new construction house. He's got an IR, an infrared camera out, and you can see that little blue color in the middle of his screen. That's staring straight up at the drywall on the ceiling. And the reason that it's a different color is because it's a lot colder. And the reason it's colder is because there's a vent that is running from the air conditioning system right to the ceiling, and it's not cut out. So in this case, this wasn't a home inspector finding something that cost the seller money. It was something that the builder owed. It was a piece of drywall that just needs a hole cut out of it and a register vent put on. And if you've ever been to Lowe's or Home Depot, that register vent is all of let's say $5 to $25, depending on how fancy and big it is. And right now, there's a situation being created on the back of that drywall, especially in Florida where they have high humidity, where you have this air conditioning and it's going to create condensation. It's going to build up on the back of that sheetrock, and the back of the sheetrock, of course, is paper. It's construction paper, cellulose rich, and it will probably grow mold if left unfettered. So this is one of those things where inspectors can find problems that the normal eye can see. But I wanted to make a point of this picture. That infrared camera is not something that every home inspector has. It's not something everybody's a fan of. But if you know your inspector and you want to learn about what he does, you'll want to ask about this equipment, whether he uses it as part of his inspection, whether he includes the use of it as part of his inspection. And clearly here, this is a great tool. There's no way that within the standards of an inspection that any inspector I know, and I've met over 10,000 of them, would be going around a house, putting their hand on every piece of drywall until they found a cold spot, and then lining that up with where they were when they go into the attic to see if there's a duct there. I mean, it's a nightmare to find unless you have this piece of equipment. Here's another thing, just a little tidbit about home inspections. If you're on the buyer's side, because the sellers, their home has been converted into a storage unit while their home is listed, so they oftentimes look like this. This is a picture from John Clayson of Crown Inspections out in Kansas City, Kansas, and I think he'll go across the river if you're in Missouri. And John's a great guy, and he takes pictures for his clients, and this is one he took for a buyer to say, look, we can't inspect this area. I don't see any problems here, but it's all hidden. So who knows what's behind this? So if you're a buyer's agent and you're walking through a house and there's a lot of stored items in the basement, in the garage. There's a collection of cars in the garage underneath the attic access, those sorts of things. You want to make sure when you schedule your inspection, not just to hand off your favorite home inspector's name to your buyer and hope all goes well. No, you want to make sure that the seller knows via the listing agent that they need to move this stuff. This house is being inspected so that we can find mechanical and structural and safety issues so that we can know that the house is exactly as advertised. And if there's anything that we find, we're going to be very reasonable in how we respond to that, but we have to have the opportunity to find that. If this stuff isn't moved and there's a big problem behind it, you could be on the receiving end of one of those lawsuits because you didn't speak up and say something, and a good plaintiff's attorney will absolutely fry you for that. I would. I don't think this plaintiff's attorney for Miss Kelly in Illinois is going to go anywhere with saying that she should have known about a questionable support beam in a crawl space, because agents don't go in crawl spaces. But any agent that walks into a basement and sees this picture, it's common sense. And if you see enough houses and you're in enough transactions a year, it's common sense. You should know that this stuff needs to be moved in order to see all of the structural and mechanical issues around it. And let me give you a little bit more of a list of things that aren't included in a home inspection. We know now, IR, infrared use, that's kind of an optional thing. Some inspectors do it, some inspectors don't. If there's personal items hiding an area, well, that's not going to be inspected. That's not included. And here's a list of things. Some apply to your area, some don't. Some apply to all areas that are not included in a basic home inspection, but are usually things that an inspector might offer for an additional fee. So there's your list. Feel free to screenshot it. Take a picture with your cell phone camera. Some of you in Southern California won't be worried about radon as much as other parts of the country. Some of you in Minnesota probably don't see a lot of pools, but in Florida you see a lot of them. So ask your inspector about a pool inspection. And again, you want to go to cpecertification.com to learn about the home inspection process itself. Let me tell you one thing that should be included with every inspection. And if you're talking to a home inspector and they're not checking for recalls with Recall Check, you are simply using the wrong inspector. And the reason I say that is because this is a service that's offered for free. Millions of homes have been checked. I think at last count, we had 300,000 appliances that had been repaired due to a known fire hazard that roughly 75-80% of home inspectors out there would miss. And they do it willingly at no expense to themselves other than 3 minutes of taking some pictures of some model tags of appliances while they're going through the home anyway, for your client's benefit. And by the way, it's not just for your client's benefit. There's this one little aspect of Recall Check that agents love. And if you're here tonight, you're probably here because you were invited as part of the Real Closers group. And if you know Juan Gabriel and David, they run some CRM stuff, some lead generation stuff for real estate agents. And if you're going out there and you're going to check out their site and you're going to take advantage of these offers, which you can find one of them at easycrm.io. And I will put that link up at nathan.tv/resources as well. But that's easy, as in easy, CRM, like client relationship manager.io. If you go to that website, you can sign up for their lead programs. They're wonderful. I hear agents say great things about them all the time. But once you get that client, you paid the full fee. You had to go out and get so many leads in order to close one. You want to make sure that they stay a client for life, that they're referring you, and finding things like fire hazards helps. But let me tell you one other thing that helps a lot too. This is an example, and there's just a cutout of it here, of our newsletter that goes out to home buyers that have had a home inspection with a qualified home inspector. And I call a qualified home inspector one that checks for recalls with Recall Check. And every single month they get this newsletter automatically. It automatically has your face, your broker information, your contact information on an email that goes out. And this isn't just an email about, what the latest cookie recipe is or whatever. This is an email that every single month updates them on recall issues around their home. So since the inspector took down all the model numbers, they're in our system, and every single month, somewhere between 10 and 25,000 new recalls come out. We notify and reverse every single one of your clients for life, for as long as they own their home, of any new recalls that come out. And when we do that, you get the credit for it. And we put you right at the top of that because, frankly, they should have a better connection with you than they do with me, certainly, and your inspector, of course, as well. And one of the things that inspectors do when they're using Recall Check is you'll hear them say, "Look, I offer Recall Check, I offer warranties, I offer all those things." That's them separating themselves from their competition, because a lot of people, and when I say a lot of people, I'm referring to you agents, don't necessarily know the difference between one inspector and the other, because you offer and you deliver every single day real value. Finding the difference between one agent and another is very, very simple. Either the agent knows the area I'm looking in or they don't. Maybe they don't speak my language at all. That's a possibility. Maybe maybe I don't get along with them. Maybe I don't think I'm going to go through this process as well as I could with someone that I had more in common with. Or maybe I just don't feel like, they're a strong personality that's going to make me feel that I got the best deal that day. Or maybe they don't have the right level of experience. Those are all things that I can look into on a high level, because I'm dealing with the biggest purchase of my life, and I'm dealing with one person that I'm going to work with once every 7 years. So it's easy for you to establish yourself as different than the other agent in your market with home inspectors. And we're going to now go past the pre-listing inspection and the inspection. We're crossing those off the list. With home inspectors, what is the difference between one inspector that can stick an outlet tester in an outlet and determine that it's wired fine, and another inspector that can stick the same outlet tester in the same outlet and determine that it's fine? It's much different than an agent. The differences aren't as huge. So we get into things like what actually happens to your client after they move in. And that's where we get into inspection warranties. Now, you can find, on another website, I'm going to give you another resource here, homeinspectionsurvey.com. You can find the largest survey about home inspections that was ever done with home buyers. So these are the people that are buying homes from you. These are all qualified survey participants. They are either purchasing a home currently or within the next 2 years. We had, I think, 20 or 30,000 unique responses. Again, the largest one ever done, and we sponsored this. And we asked a few questions that are very important for you to understand about your buyers. So we asked them, if your real estate agent recommends a particular home inspection company, how likely are you to get an inspection with them? And, you look at the number, there's a 4% margin of error in this poll. And between definitely, very likely, and somewhat likely, 97.75% of answers were in those three categories, and between definitely and very likely, over 75%, 76% actually. I think, that's just astounding. So you need to know that you as a real estate agent, you really do control this process. I know I've seen polls about who's more trusted, the car salesman or the real estate agent, or whatever that stuff is. Believe it if you want. But at the end of the day, and we're involved in 100 to 150,000 transactions a month here at Residential Warranty Services. We see that well over 90% of home buyers are going with the first name of a home inspector out of their agent's mouth and the only name of a warranty company out of their agent's mouth. So they trust you. Now let's go to this next question. If a mechanical or structural failure occurs in your home shortly after move-in, so let's just assume all these inspectors are good because they all come into your office, they all buy a lunch, stop by the open houses and say, I'm really thorough. I'm going to educate you about this house. Well, it sounds sexy, but no, it doesn't really sound sexy, but it sounds good. And it sounds like they really care, and they all do. But what happens after a client moves in? And we ask the client, okay, who do you think is responsible for a failure, structural or mechanical, after you move in? And pick as many of the following people as you can, as you think are responsible to write you a check when you run into a problem. The home inspector got the highest. And by the way, these were randomized answers. So it didn't favor them because they were first up. No, it was random every time. Home inspector, 75% of home buyers believe their home inspector is responsible to pay them for anything that fails after the fact. 23% think it's the agent. 44% think they can go back to their seller. 5% of crazy people think that they can call their mortgage company. They can call up Countrywide or Bank of America and say, my furnace just went out. Send me a check. What's funny is less than 30% said their home warranty provider, which we actually specifically are responsible for mechanical and structural failures after move-in, but maybe the shortly after move-in through them. Let's go to this other question because this is important. This ties it all together and gets you to realize how important it is that you make a great decision for your clients on inspections, and you should make that decision for them because you know more than they do. If your agent recommends an inspector and the inspector fails to pay for those repairs because 75% of you think they're responsible for them, does that affect your view of your real estate agent? Does it affect your ability to refer them to other people? Yes, and definitely was over 78%. It was 82%. 82% of people said yes or definitely. Wow. So if you have an inspection company that you're working with that doesn't guarantee anything after the fact, well, you're going to be in trouble there because things can and do break. So let's bring up those web resources for agents. And again, we got our CPE certification. Go there. You can just take the test and prove you know as much as anybody about home inspection, and get the answer right each time, and boom, you're certified. And I can say you're the smartest agent in town. Then we have the zero deductible for brokers.com. Get your deductible waived. Doesn't matter what state you're in, what E&O insurance provider you use, fully waived. Nathan.tv/resources is where we're going to put everything from tonight's webinar, so keep that handy. And homeinspectionsurvey.com, we have probably, 50 or 60 questions on there, and they're all eye-opening because you want to know what your clients think before they walk in the door so you know how to address them. And by the way, when you look for an inspector that guarantees the condition of the property after move-in, there's only one group of inspectors that do that. And you can go with inspectors that belong to a certain association or whatever, but your clients don't know the difference between any of them, and they've never heard of any of them. But they do care if there's a check coming to them after they have a problem. So you'll want to ask your inspectors about, and I'll just give you a brief rundown of a few warranties. And these are transactional. These are happening in 20% of the transactions throughout the US and Canada. So you should be aware of them. The number one warranty out there is the free 90-day warranty. You'll see the little house logo from home inspectors in every market. Every single market you'll find multiple, and there'll always be the big multi-inspector guys. There'll be quite a few of them that have this as well because it works. This is for most issues. It's for structural and mechanical issues. It has some limitations. It works very well with 1-year warranties, so it might cover the deductible from them. But we're talking about your general mechanical and structural issues. Here's the second kind of warranty you might find from these inspectors: mold safe. Now this one's interesting because inspectors, if you talk to them long enough, you'll find out that, or if you read their inspection agreement, you'll find out they exclude mold from what they do. They say, we are not responsible for mold. We don't inspect for mold. We don't test for mold unless you specifically ask us to test for mold. Uh, but do they say something if they see it? Well, they do, but they're not responsible to. So many of them you'll find have this mold safe coverage that says if your client moves in and they see mold, they see visible mold, this will pay to fix it. Of course, the most shocking of all of them, the one that just blows people away, is when you call a home inspector and you got two inspectors in your market. Both of them are charging, let's say, it $500 for a home inspection. One of them says he's really, really good, and the other one says, hey, I'm really, really good. And by the way, if you have a roof leak anytime in the next 5 years, it's covered under our 5-year roof leak repair program. Well, you should be asking every inspector if they offer this, because if you find the one that does, 4 years later, when the client has a roof leak, they won't be calling you. And this one I'm particularly proud of. This is something that affects all of you on a very big level. Sewer lines underground between the house and the street. That is the most expensive plumbing line that you will find at a property. And it's not covered by 1-year warranties generally. And your inspector, they're inspecting this house. Do they check the underground sewer lines? Well, they don't unless you pay an extra fee generally to do a sewer camera inspection. And some of them do, like Marco Morales of Morales Home Inspections down in San Diego. This is a picture from him, I guess from one just the other day. So that's a picture of a really awesome sewer line that has a little bit of an issue. I don't know if you can see it there in the bottom right side there, but there's something going on with this line, and it definitely needs to be fixed. So if you don't do this, what happens? Well, if you use the right home inspector that offers sewer guard and somebody moves in and they have a problem with their underground sewer line, it's collapsed, there's tree roots in it, this is something that happens, and not infrequently, it would be covered under that program. Now, in some areas you might have termites, in other areas you don't. The colder climates generally don't have as many termite issues. So down in your warmer climates, you might want to check with your home inspector to see if they offer the termite protection plan. And in areas where radon is a big issue, you might ask about the radon protection plan as well. But all of these programs can be discovered, and you can learn all about them with a very quick read, thesavvyagent.net. Now, thesavvyagent.net will, in about a 20-minute read, give you all the details on everything that a home inspector offers warranty-wise, so we don't have to take all your time tonight with it. And again, we'll put that link up at nathan.tv/resources. So, at this point, we've talked about pre-listing inspections and why, it can be a good idea. It can help promote the property. You can get that 5-year roof leak protection coverage with it. You can have 18 months worth of warranty coverage, which we haven't really talked about. But it's, definitely something that's worth investing in, and something that maybe you invest in and make it your unique selling proposition, why somebody should list with you. Everybody's going to put it in the MLS. Everybody's charging roughly the same rate, but you include a pre-listing inspection and a full, 3D tour, whatever, what have you. We've talked a bit about the inspection and what some of the limitations are, things you might want to pay for, or things your client might want to look into, and make sure your client does look into those things. If in your area, home inspectors are offering underground sewer camera inspections, well, you should probably tell your client to consider it, because the reason they offer that is because they're finding failures. We've talked about inspection warranties, and inspection warranties are very important. If you have an inspector who doesn't offer warranties with his inspection, your client is absolutely out of luck the day after the inspection. If they move in, literally everything in the house could break, it could fall apart. As long as it was verifiably good to go on the day of the inspection, it is not the inspector's problem. That's why there's a warranty company that backs up home inspectors, and we're talking about 20 to 25% of the market. So they are in your area. And if you need one, by the way, here, I'll give you all my email address. It's nathan@nathan.tv, like television. And I'll be happy to refer you to an inspector in your area that offers these warranties. Now let's talk a bit about these mechanical warranties. And I'm just going to throw up a little bit of a comparison chart so that we can see it. Because, pretty much every warranty out there covers heating and cooling, electrical systems, plumbing systems, appliances, mostly built-in appliances. But when it comes down to it, do you really know all of the things that they do and don't cover? I mean, it's kind of a fine print contract. So one of the things that we've done, and we put this up at realcloserswarranty.com, we put up this spreadsheet that you can see a comparison between all of the most popular ones. And we were fair about it. Like for instance, with 210, we talked about their base policy, not, the super duper policy that you can pay $1,000 for. We know that that includes a lot of the stuff that is not app or not included on this sheet, but we're just looking for the thing that's in the real price point. When you go to closing, you're looking for, $400 basically to go to closing with for a warranty on an entry level home. Well, the residential warranty services simple plan includes things like drain line stoppage, and so does American Home Shield. But HSA did not. Now they're more or less gone now. American Home Shield bought them, and it looks like they've been shutting them down state by state. But that's more or less included now, and that's a long way from where we were 20 years ago when I started in this business. But when you look at water softeners, that's an option for everybody but us and American Home Shield. When you look at garage door springs, there's only one company that covers that. And when you look at ejector pumps, there's only two companies that cover that. Now, you can cover these things often for an additional fee, but you got to know that. If you love your Fidelity rep and you love your Old Republic rep, that's good. But you need to sit down with these policies. You need to read them and understand them if you don't want the policy that simply includes everything from residential warranty services. You got to go in and make sure that your client gets the well pump coverage for an extra $100, the sewage pump coverage for an extra $75, every additional kitchen appliance. You better make sure you don't miss one. It's an extra $50. So, that's pretty complicated, but if you love their coverage, then great. Just make sure you know what your client is getting or not getting. And I'll tell you that this is the biggest thing that you need to worry about. Biggest two things, actually. Number one, pre-existing conditions are not covered by any of these policies except for the RWS Simple policy, and that's with a home inspection. So if the home inspection doesn't say it's defective, it's covered, no questions asked, with the RWS Simple policy. And by the way, if you get an inspection from one of those inspectors that has that 5-year roof leak protection, it gets extended to 18 months. So now your client shows up to closing, they get the 18-month warranty, you look like a hero, everybody's happy. The other thing that's big here is the underground sewer lines. So we actually cover those under our 1-year warranty as well. They just added that as a $100 option on Old Republic, but none of the other guys are offering it yet. And, this is the big one. This is people move in, they have a problem, it's thousands of dollars, and they're calling you and they're calling your broker, and it's one of the most common small claim suits against you as a real estate agent. And again, that RWS Simple policy is from Residential Warranty Services Incorporated. That's my company. And you can order, by the way, at realcloserswarranty.com if you're part of the Real Closers group, and you can see that benefits link at the top. That's what I was talking about when I was talking about the chart that has all the comparisons. And of course, you also have the frequently asked questions. We go through every kind of question you could have about home warranty, so we didn't have to, go through all of that tonight. And I appreciate all of you that have submitted questions. I will respond to each of you privately. And you can also order right there and learn all about us. Now, I'm going to go back to these web resources for agents, and we're going to add residentialwarrantyservices.com. You can check us out online. And one of the things that you should check out too is, we're involved in a lot of real estate transactions. I mean, 100 to 150,000 a month. That's through real estate inspections. It's through the home warranties. It's through our lab. It's through our educational system. Some of our products that we have out there. We have these little robots called the Crawlbot. They're adorable, and they go under where an inspector can't go sometimes, and they save your clients a lot of money and a lot of frustration, and you a lot of liability. But at the end of the day, being involved in more residential real estate transactions than any other home warranty company, we have the least amount of complaints online. There are some of them are absolutely legitimate, and we would do anything for those folks to make them happy. And I assure you, we've offered it to any one of them. There's probably 30 real complaints out there that we'd like to resolve, but we're talking about under 100. When you look at our competition, our nationwide competition that is involved in a fraction of the number of transactions, we're not talking about 100 complaints. We're talking about thousands. And you want to make sure that you have a connection with the warranty company to say, hey, I got a client. They don't understand this. They're not happy with the outcome of this. What can you do? And since you're here tonight and you're listening to this and you want to be an agent who's in the know, a savvy agent, if you will, write down my email address, nathan@nathan.tv. I am the CEO of this company, and if there's something I can do to make a client happy, you know the owner. So we're going to add Real Closers Warranty, Residential Warranty Services. Feel free to check us out. And of course, now I'm to the point where I want to test your knowledge a little bit just to see if what I did here helped you any. And some of these are trick questions, so I apologize in advance. But let's go with the first question. I'm going to ask the question, and then I'm going to answer it in as summarily as possible. So let's say there's a sewer line failure after the inspection. Your client closes 10 days later. They have poo in their basement because the sewer line is no longer draining. What do you do about that? How does your client deal with that issue? Well, here are the ways that they deal with that issue. If they had an inspection with a home inspector that offered sewer guard, that issue would be covered by sewer guard. If they had an inspection with an inspector that does not, they are on their own. Unless they also have a policy from Residential Warranty Services, the simple policy, then it would be covered under that policy. And either way, by the way, they would have a $300 deductible, just to get that out there. But these are problems that usually cost $1,000 or more to fix. Now let's say there's a 9-year-old water heater and it fails 93 days after the inspection. Who takes care of this? Well, every home warranty company should be covering this failure because it was 93 days after inspection, but this was a trick question because we have a 90-day warranty with the home inspectors, but it comes to 90 days or 22 days after closing, whichever came later. So this 93 days could be within the 90-day warranty period. We don't know. But if it's on our warranty, it would be covered with a deductible. If it's still within 22 days of closing, there would be no deductible because the deductible would be covered by the 90-day warranty, which carries a $0 deductible. This one should be easy. You should know the answer to this one. Visible mold discovered under that kitchen sink upon move-in. Well, if your inspector offered mold safe, that would be covered for removal, even if the kitchen sink cabinet was filled with personal items. Roof leak. What's covered and how? Well, leaks anytime after closing. And it would depend on which policy they have. So if they have the 90-day warranty from an inspector, that would cover the deductible on the 5-year roof leak protection plan. And if they have the simple policy from Residential Warranty Services, they have coverage from that as well for roof leaks. Now, here's a question, and this is a huge myth for real estate agents. What is the legal advantage to referring 3 home inspectors? And I'm just going to go ahead and skip to the next slide right now after I find where, there we go. If you go to nathan.tv/resources, I'm going to load in all of these links and all of these resources that we talked about tonight, and that'll be up there by tomorrow afternoon. And I might even be able to get a copy of this webinar out there for you to share with your friends if you found the information valuable. But the biggest myth in real estate is this: we need to refer 3 inspectors in order to reduce our liability. And I'll cut to the punchline on this. The answer is no, that's absolutely false. You should be referring the best inspector and the one that can best take care of your client. And if you're offering 3 inspection companies, then you're obviously offering not just the best one, you're also offering 2 that are worse than the best one. And you're doing it willingly. And you're doing it to save yourself from some hypothetical liability. You should really watch the video because it explains it very well. And Wally Conway of Home Pro Inspections out of Jacksonville, he's kind of a legend in the home inspection industry, does a great job of interviewing me on that short, maybe 2-minute YouTube clip. So check that out. Now, we're back to these property condition components, and there's only one left that's highlighted. And this one, again, is something that I'm pretty proud of because it's a solution for you as a real estate agent. Most of this has been, hey, you're already doing inspections. Make sure your inspector has a warranty to back them up. You're already thinking about pre-listing inspections. Understand the benefits of doing it. You've already seen the inspection warranties. Now, hopefully, you're using an inspector that offers these inspection warranties. You should know what they cover so that when your client calls you, you know how to guide them, how to direct them, how to solve their problems, and make sure that they refer you to all of their family and friends. You spend a lot of money on leads and getting yourself out there, a lot of marketing dollars. You want to make sure you take advantage of those. But then there's this thing about maybe closing a deal using a warranty. And that's where the structural warranties come in. And it's the next structural warranty is what I'm referring to. And it's a policy that's only available from Residential Warranty Services. It is a policy that covers structural issues on a longer term for existing homes. So, your new homes generally come with a warranty from the builder. Don't worry about going and buying a warranty on those because they already come with it. It's, they're legally obligated to do it in many cases. But on an existing older home, is there coverage for structural concerns? Let's say, you go to the basement, you see some bracing on the walls. You see something that has been, engineered to keep that wall from coming in. And the inspector says, oh my gosh, it's a problem. You need to make sure an engineer is fine with this. And let's say that they say they are fine with it. But now you got people that are a little bit nervous. Just go get them the next structural warranty. It's at nxtwarranty.com. There's no age limit on homes. It's square footage based pricing. It starts at only $350. Any home inspected by a certified inspection expert is eligible, and it even covers the engineering cost on any claim. So, whether it's a footer, a foundation system, a beam, a roof framing system, flooring system, whatever it is, it's all covered under the next warranty. And we even call the original inspector back. Let's say there ever is a problem and it gets repaired. We pay the $500 in engineering cost. We pay the contractor, which the buyer chooses their own. Then we even guarantee that repair because we're going to underwrite that repair. We're going to make sure that it's the right repair being done, which will be reviewed by one of our experts. And then we're going to send out one of our certified inspection experts to make sure that it was, in fact, done perfectly. So that's that for the structural warranties. We're going to go back to one last thing, and then we're going to close this up for tonight. And again, all of you that joined me, thank you very much. We're going to make sure to get all of your questions answered. And we're going to have all of these resources up at nathan.tv/resources. If you're listening to this, it's probably already up by the time you hear it if you're seeing it on YouTube. But here's just, again, a quick rundown. Your CPE certification is a great place to get a little bit extra knowledge and show it. You will have use of the logo. Put it on your website, put it on your business card, add CPE to the end of your names. We just love 3 letters at the end of our names, don't we, in real estate? ZeroDeductibleForBrokers.com. And this is automatic. If you use Residential Warranty Services for your warranty and a certified inspection expert for your client's home inspections, you automatically have deductible coverage for any E&O claim for any reason. It doesn't have to have anything to do with property condition. It could be for any reason. It's covered for the first year after closing when you use our people, or if you have your clients fill out the form and sign off on it at ZeroDeductibleForBrokers.com. You don't have to pay a dime, costs you nothing. HomeInspectionSurvey.com, learn a little bit about your people, learn what they expect in a home inspection. You should know that. You already know what to expect out of a home inspection, but we're in the business. We're jaded. We know too much. Go there and see what your clients are saying. TheSavvyAgent.net, it's the online version of this book. And in fact, if you go to RealClosersWarranty.com and order your first home warranty, we're going to automatically send you a hard copy of that in the mail. If you want a signature from me on that, you're going to have to request it. Send it to my personal email address, nathan@nathan.tv. And of course, our structural warranty at Next Warranty, NXTwarranty.com. We're going to do this again. We're going to come up with some very specific content to go deep into. But for tonight, I've had you for exactly 54 minutes and 35 seconds, just under an hour. And we will always be on time to these things, and we'll always get you out of here too. So we'll see you on the next one. And thank you all for coming.